Ladies and gentlemen, I have got the one, the only, it's your boy, flexing on the Twitch thumbnail. It's Mackintac. Welcome on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I think this
Yeah.
is like one of my first interviews in general.
See, it's an exclusive. It's
An
fantastic.
exclusive.
So, all right. I always do this thing, before I poison the guest with whatever opinions I have formed, right?
All right.
How do you describe what you do?
Ooh, just a stream in general. Mostly high level gameplay with commentary,
Hmm.
but I'm trying to be more personality based nowadays. I try to just that's actually tough. I'm
It's
not
hard.
really good at describing myself. I try and be just like a dude that's kind of relatable. Um I don't try and like be overly positive or anything like that. If people have seen me, they know that. Um, though I try not to get too bad,
Hmm.
but I don't really filter myself too much. I'm just a guy who streams, plays to chill, hang out sometimes, and watch some gameplay as well.
Nice. And of course you happen to be a guy who is quite good at the game. So if anybody is watching this on YouTube and is living under a rock and doesn't know who Mackintac is, what level are we playing Starcraft at nowadays?
I think percentage wise is the 0.1%.
Wow.
Um, I think it's that, right? Yeah. So it's Grandmaster, top 200 in the region. On both NA and EU. Not so much EU right now because
Hmm.
I've been more chilling out my ladder sessions where I'm not as try hard.
Yeah.
But right now, I believe I'm sitting at around rank 70 in North American Grandmaster.
Hmm.
So the North American top 200.
Very
I've
nice.
peaked at like rank 39 when ladder was really live.
Okay.
So I beat actual to get to that peak. I beat parting.
Oh, just
Yeah,
out
I
there
stole some of
bullying
my
all the
friends.
poor North American players is parting.
I mean, yeah, I gotta take him out. The funny thing about that, he didn't GG me. I'm just gonna say, he's all about no GG.
Imagine
Getting mad,
that.
he doesn't GG me.
No.
Did I cheese him? Yeah, but hey, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Oh man, I love it. Okay. So let's rewind the clock. Now that we've kind of set the scene for the people, right? You're doing ladder, you're doing, chill, like this is who I am, this is what I'm feeling. We're not going super toxic, but we're not trying to be Mr. Smiles, we're grinding ladder, we're trying to, think about it. But what drew you into StarCraft? What was like, how did the bug bite you?
Um, so it was a bunch of things that added up, kind of. But it started with mostly playing World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3 with my grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandpa and my uncle, I would go over to my grandparents' house on the weekends. Actually, my grandma got me into gaming in general with like Super Nintendo, and, like
Uh-huh.
Mario Kart, Super Mario World, those types of games. But when it comes to PC gaming, I started playing RuneScape and then StarCraft Brood War because my computer at home was so bad that I could only really run StarCraft Brood War in
Yeah.
RuneScape. But I would play Brood War campaign with the cheats and just skip through all the levels. I actually barely played the levels, but I set up a bunch of custom games with the AI with this one cheat code. I forget what it was, but it was everyone as God mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to set up just never-ending fights
Ah.
in custom games between myself and 7 other artificial intelligence. Really cool. From there on, I went to play Warcraft 3, Dota with my uncle, who's really into it, World of Warcraft with my grandpa, and then my grandpa bought me StarCraft 2 when it came out. Played some arcade, but I wasn't really a tryhard at this time. Around this time, I was also playing a lot of Halo. I was
Mm.
more an FPS guy.
Okay.
Wasn't really into RTS games too much. But the arcade modes really appealed to me because I was coming from Warcraft 3
Yeah.
and Dota. Hero Line Wars was my favorite, actually. Uh, Stronghold, just all those good stuff. Winter Mall Wars. So the arcade naturally attracted me to it. I started playing something called Doomed Earth, which is a risk type, world domination type arcade mode that usually
Okay.
lasts upwards of like 3 to 4 hours per game.
Oh wow.
And one of the guys that I started playing that with, a guy named Stolen Gunner, was a Diamond League, I think Terran player, maybe Protoss. I'm not sure. He was Diamond League. He was one of those 1v1 gods in my eyes. Like he's Diamond. That's up
Yeah,
there.
it's up there.
So me being friends with him, I was like, okay, I kind of want to play 1v1s now. So I played a 1v1 with Zerg. And I don't remember too much. It was on a green map. I'm actually thinking it was like Lost Temple or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even have a spawning pool finish. There's 2 barracks in my base, and I just died to Marines. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't play anymore ranked for 3 years.
Oh man.
I started playing Heart of the Swarm. The first day of Heart of the Swarm, I started playing ranked. And I started out as Protoss. And I forgated from Bronze League to Gold League in that one season. Decided, wait, Protoss is not really my thing. It's too boring for me. It's really straightforward. You
Mm.
make a lot of units from your gateways, and then you just go across the map. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that was me only forgating.
Sure.
I've always been a fan of stuff like Alien.
Mm.
Aliens vs Predator was like one of the coolest things to me growing up. And xenomorphs, bug type aliens, bugs in general were pretty cool. So I chose the Zerg as what I want to play from then on. I went to the European server because it gave me kind of like a new account. Didn't have money to buy another copy. So I just played on the European server with Zerg until I was Gold League there, came back to NA, and then just laddered Zerg from then on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of the intro to playing StarCraft for
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Very cool.
joined OD. So OD Overdosed was an old team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I joined Core from Overdosed. And I was one of the founding members of Miraculous Gaming when that was a thing, Merg.
Mm-hmm.
I think Neuro. I was on the same team as Neuro back then. I was gold though, and
Interesting.
he was one of the few grandmasters.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had that kind of loose relation.
Uh-huh.
Even now we're on the same team. We're not
Yeah, I was
really
gonna
the
say.
the chummiest.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked that much. But we had the relation back then. I remember is kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah, that's neat. Like just for something to sort of span that many years, right? It's like fast forward to today, you're both on Root Gaming. I almost okay. We'll talk about Root and all that and get into like the team stuff in a little bit, but I want to. I That's almost like this dangly shiny thing in the corner of my vision. I want to go right there, but I feel like we need to keep setting the scene about you for a minute, so I'm going to stay with that
All
thread.
right.
So okay, you do sort of the ramp up to gold as Protoss. You're like, this isn't for me. I'm just forgating. I don't like it. It's blah. I like the bugs. We make the switch to the bugs. Zerg to gold. You hop over. And this is all Heart of the Swarm era, right?
Yeah. So Heart of the Swarm. This is back. I peaked Diamond in Heart of the Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
So like the whole time I wasn't great,
Okay.
but Heart of the Swarm got me in. I was one of those. I was kind of. I like to think back, and I think I'm kind of cringe back then, but now I'm more of the idea if you're into it, just be into it.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of video game parodies of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So back when I played World of Warcraft, I was listening to that stuff when I was younger. I do realize that stuff is pretty cringe now, actually. Like those specific songs I was listening to, Nim and all those dudes. But then Viva La Dirt League was the StarCraft parodies that I started listening to. And they
Mm-hmm.
made like a Heart of the Swarm song that was really good. It was a parody of Chasing the Sun, I think,
Mm-hmm.
by some boy band. And that was also part of the reason I started playing Zerg because of that. And Starship Troopers, too, obviously. That's like the de facto Zerg-ish movie. Sorry, I kind of went off a bit there. But so listening to all those tempos when I'm Grandmaster,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
huge fan of tempo back then. So it was actually kind of surreal when I started meeting these people in real life at
Yeah.
events. But I started running into him in Diamond League Ladder. That was pretty cool. Just mostly Heart of the Swarm was me playing Zerg and just I like to look back at those days as probably the most fun days with me playing StarCraft.
Really? That's interesting. What
Yeah,
what made it that for you?
improving.
Mm.
I've StarCraft made me extremely competitive. I mean, Halo kind of did, but then StarCraft took it to another level
Yeah.
where I just loved getting better and better
Mhm. Mhm.
and seeing the improvement from gold to platinum alone. Like that
Yeah.
was huge for
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Getting to diamond took much longer than getting to platinum. But that was like amazing. Like I was a diamond league player. I was one of those gods I looked up to.
Mhm.
At this time, I also thought if I get to Masters League, that means I can play in WCS, which
Mm.
means I have a chance against these top pro players if I was a Masters League player.
Mhm.
Looking at it now, Masters League players in comparison to the pros are basically Bronze League. But
Mhm.
I didn't know that looking up
Right.
to this. Everyone was just amazing in my eyes. Um, so I was really motivated to improve. I had the dream of being a pro player once upon a time, like a lot of people have.
Mhm.
Actually, my first StarCraft event was when I was Diamond League, I think. It was in 2016 or 2015. It was WCS Toronto
Mhm.
at the Toronto Convention Center or something like that. And Scarlet made an appearance there, which is pretty cool. But I met Rotterdam and Mr. Bitter. This was back when Ritterdam was a thing.
Mhm.
And that was my first live event. My grandpa took me there. It's like a hour and a half drive away, but he was like, you know what, I'm gonna take you to this cool thing that you're so passionate about,
Yeah.
and we can talk about it, and whatnot. He was really into gaming. Um, Still is. He's
Mhm.
started playing Valheim with his son recently. Um, and we got in a talk on the way back about what I want to be doing
Mm.
with
Mhm.
gaming. And I was saying, oh, I want to be a pro player.
Mhm.
I think I can do it. But this is also, like, very distant in the future, I thought, like, it was very far away.
Mhm.
So I was talking to him about that, and he was like, "Okay, maybe think of something more realistic." As supportive as he was also, like, really, really caring of me. He didn't want me to get, like, too sidetracked on something
Mhm.
that might like, is really low chance of working out.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I think 2 years later, I was a grandmaster player
Mhm.
for the first time.
Yeah.
My birthday in 2016, I got grandmaster for the first time in
That's
Legacy of the
so
Void.
cool.
A year after it came out, I'm pretty sure. And that was just like that changed a lot of stuff about me.
Mhm.
I started developing a huge ego when it comes to gaming in general. Um, but it also I kind of felt like part of that ego was deserved
Mm.
because one thing I really believe in is if you get good at StarCraft, you get good at every other game, or you can get good at every other game.
Mm. Mhm.
Because improving at StarCraft means that you know how to learn.
Mhm.
So the ego was kind of deserved. I kept improving a bit, but then I started not improving as much,
Okay.
which was like 3 years ago, I think.
Mhm.
And since then, StarCraft hasn't been it. It's not like the glory days of improving. I feel like I've kind of plateaued a bit. So
Sure.
laddering all day isn't something I can really do because it's not as fun to me. But StarCraft still has a special place in my heart. As much as I rant about it on stream, like it's been such a huge part of my life. It has
Yeah.
led to some of the best moments of my life. Just StarCraft events in general. Kings of the North 3 was my first one that I actually competed in. Was a great time. And to that point, so I've struggled with mental health a lot over my life. I'm kind of
Mm.
like jumping from a lot of stuff,
This
but they
is
tie in.
great. Well, I'll come back to stuff as needed. I'll remember for you. Don't worry.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So I was at a really low point in my life
Mhm.
when in September of 2017, I think.
Mhm.
2017, yeah, 2017 or 2016. Whenever Kings of North 3 was, it
Mhm.
was a tournament in Toronto that had players like Scarlet come in, Neeb, Violet. I'm actually not sure if Neeb was there. That's actually where I met Juggernaut Jason up Tree Zelda in person for the first time.
Mhm.
Just all these pro players
Yeah.
and people that I've seen stream. My first time actually seeing them in person was like and communicating with them. I played a
Mhm.
custom game against Scarlet which was amazing. I lost instantly, like 4 minutes into the game. And it was just so fun. It kind of like reignited that passion. It brought me entirely out of my depressive episode I was having,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of incredible to me.
Yeah.
How like just this gaming community that I've been a part of for a bit can actually just totally make my life, I
Mm.
guess.
Mm-hmm.
Kings of the North 3 did that. My first WCS Montreal 2017 also did that. Um, Montreal 2018, DreamHack Austin 2018 as well. Montreal 2019, which I actually got sick during,
Oh
unfortunately.
man.
Like all these times
Yeah.
have been much needed. They've gotten me out of bad mental states. They've reignited my passion for grinding Starcraft.
Yeah.
They've just been all around some of the best moments of my life.
Mm-hmm.
This year in the last, not so much because COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I just like StarCraft a lot back then. Still do, but it's not as appealing to me for laddering.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Sure.
I don't know. I've done a lot of stuff with events, and they're all fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they've kind of kept me in the game, which is nice. I
Totally.
think.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, it sounds like these events and kind of the sort of uplifting effect it has on your mental state were and continue to be really important to you. So it sounds like in terms of like the struggles you mentioned with mental health, like that's a pretty routine struggle for you. That's not like a once in a while thing. If you're talking about like this event in 2018 and
Yeah,
that event in 2018,
yeah,
so you're constantly kind of battling that then.
yeah. So I was diagnosed with ADHD and severe depression when I was in elementary school.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, so it's kind of been like a thing that's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Not ADHD, ADD,
Mm-hmm.
attention deficit disorder without the hyperactivity part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's kind of been a thing I've had, especially in elementary school and high school. I was bullied a lot, so
Mm.
like StarCraft was like one thing that I clung to.
Yeah.
Gave me a decent amount of stability, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Going to StarCraft events kind of was that thing that just like kept me there, which
Mm-hmm.
was nice. Oh, there's also another event that happened, which was another peak thing in high school for me. I
Mm-hmm.
played against Masa in a tournament in a city near Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
and I took a game off of him in the finals of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was huge for me.
Yeah.
I think that's something I wanted to know. That was like what was like, I really want to be a pro player.
Uh-huh.
So I started grinding a ton and I started getting decent. I got like to 5.6K. Um, and for me, that was really good. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it wasn't pro level. Very far from it, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the grind was there. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes depression caused me to take a break and I would lose progress, which kind of sucked. This was before streaming.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I was entirely just a player. And I would take breaks from StarCraft, come back, start grinding again, keep doing that over and over again. Usually around events was this time where I would come back and play. And yeah, StarCraft has just been kind of like my lifeline, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Since high school, I've been playing that a lot and bringing myself up with it. And it's also been partially the cause of some of my lows,
Mm, sure,
especially
yeah.
bad ladder sessions, right? Losing
Right.
against Protoss, all that stuff. That can, if you force yourself to play a game when you're not enjoying it, I think you can really be doing something wrong for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that a lot recently, actually.
Yeah.
Uh, but maybe we can get into that later.
Sure.
StarCraft is, yeah. I got re-diagnosed in 2019, late 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college at the time for severe depressive disorder as well as general anxiety disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I met Cats, kind of around the same time.
Ah, okay.
I started talking to Cats. So when you want to get into the team stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm going to start off from,
Okay.
just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
set that up
perfect.
there.
Yeah, that's really cool actually. I know Katz has been, kind of very open about different, struggles he's had or just mindset things he's thinking about on Twitter and stuff. I really love this about our community, that we do talk about this stuff, right? And some of my other interviewees have kind of been willing to share this stuff. And I'm always really grateful, right? Because like, you know, those of us, and I include myself because I've had kind of some health struggles and a little bit of mental health stuff as well. Those of us who have, kind of gone through some shit and, done some self experimentation. I'm like, okay, what if I frame it this way mentally, or what if I try this? Or, just different things like that,
Yeah.
right? It's like you do have something valuable to share. So I'm always grateful, when folks are willing to talk about it. For you, has it been anything besides just the events in StarCraft that has been kind of that lifeline for you? Or are there other sort of techniques or things that you leverage?
Yeah. So I've met a lot of people through StarCraft, of
Mm-hmm.
course. Back in the earlier days of StarCraft, I met a few friends, in particular, who I kind of stuck with.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was, I don't know, maybe early Legacy of the Void, I started hanging out, or actually late Heart of the Swarm, I started hanging out with a couple of guys, my friend Matt and my friend William, uh, who were part of an old team that kind of they brought me on to. So 1F Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And my nights since joining 1F Pro were mostly filled with hanging out with those guys
Mm-hmm.
in Discord or Skype. Back then Skype was the main thing. And
Yeah,
playing a lot. And just like shooting the, can I swear?
you can swear. I
All
will
right.
probably swear more
Shooting
than
the
you do.
shit. Awesome. So just shooting the shit with the boys, and they were kind of like my main friends at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I had some IRL friends, but mostly it was the dudes that I related with the most were people who played StarCraft with me,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just hanging out with those guys kind of was awesome. Whenever I was having issues and stuff, I would talk with them about it, and they'd kind of help me out. Um, but it was mostly talking with, or sorry, gaining friends in StarCraft
Mm-hmm.
that was the main awesome thing
Yeah.
for me
Mm-hmm.
outside of going to events, because it's just, hey, sometimes stuff isn't working out in your personal life, your IRL life at
Mm-hmm.
school or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just go boot up Skype. There's a group call going on
Mm-hmm.
for your clan, and you just join in, and you're just hanging out, and you're
Yeah.
having a good time.
Right. It's
And
that
that's,
dedicated space where like it's predictable. You know that it's going to be chill. You know that you kind of have this space that's like okay for you to be in. That feels good, like consistently.
yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Honestly, I agree with that fully.
Very cool. So yeah, let's talk about this conversation, or these conversations that you had with cats, and kind of how that turned into you joining Root. That sounds like a really kind of interesting thread to pull on.
Yeah. So I started streaming. This was actually really soon after I started streaming. So
Okay.
I started streaming in August of 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and it was going okay. It was going well. Like, I started out basically from nothing, and then Stefano started rating me, which was huge for my growth early on.
Mm-hmm.
Massive. I started doing push-ups all the time, which is where I've gained some of my followers and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And some people know me for doing push-ups. So started doing that a lot. Started getting more popular. Wasn't really that huge. I was still like a 20 viewer Andy. Still am now a lot of the time. But it was enough for me to get noticed by some people.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, Cats rated me. And he thought I was pretty cool. So he was going to come around more often. And he started coming around more often. We started talking.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open with my mental health on stream,
Mm-hmm.
and my mental health history. So sometimes I went into that stuff, and Cats sent me a DM one day asking if I wanted to talk about it. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, yeah, sure, why not? Um, and start talking about it. This was around the time when, so part. I'm just gonna, like, for the people watching, I ADD makes me like jump from part to
Mm,
part in conversation.
yeah.
I'll try and just make it as like straightforward as possible, but
This is totally fine interview content. Do not stress about that. You're great.
awesome. Okay. So in October, 2 months after I started streaming, I've already gained a decent following. Um, Not massive, but it was decent. It was far beyond my expectations for that time. I was doing midterms in college, and I passed them with flying colors, like
Mhm.
high 80s, low 90s. My exams went well. I was vibing.
Mhm.
But then a week after exams, out of nowhere, I just got extremely depressed. Couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't stream. I just lost motivation going to the gym. Just everything was just gone.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of bed. And around this time, Katz and I were talking about mental health stuff and
Mhm.
depression.
Yeah.
He's like a really spiritual person. He's really into psychology. So he was giving me another point of view on some stuff, which is really cool. But I was also like a pretty I don't know, kind of I want to say closed. Like I'm open with my history and stuff, but like when it comes to a lot of my inner thoughts, I kind of
Mm.
like censor myself.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, because it's really uncomfortable saying the truth sometimes,
Mm. Mhm.
as a lot of people are aware of. So he was trying to like kind of help me do that. And we started talking. I was like not even talking about joining Root. And he was just like,
Yeah.
hey, Cheeseadelphia is happening in December, a week after your birthday. Why don't you go to Cheeseadelphia and then come stay in LA for a bit?
Mm.
And I just was like, oh, wow. Yeah, that seems sick. So I did it.
Yeah.
I went to Cheeseadelphia. I performed beyond my expectations for someone who hasn't played for 2 months.
Mhm.
I was one game away from being in the money, which was really great. I had a really
Wild.
close
Yeah.
series with Jehefe, and I'm kicking myself for the final game loss, but he played really well. But it was just it was a good time. It
Mhm.
was an amazing time. Cheeseadelphia was awesome. I started having more talks with cats about mental health stuff, and went out to LA. He was giving me just an area. Oh, he also just invited me to join Root before going
Mm.
out there.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's pretty important. So, and that was a pretty huge thing to me. Like,
Mhm.
whoa, Root's one of, in my eyes, I had three main teams I would have joined, and if not, I wouldn't pretty much join any team. So
Uh-huh.
those three teams were Root Gaming, Team Liquid, and Psystorm.
Mhm.
Those were my main three. Psystorm's pretty big. Team Liquid has always had that legacy,
Mhm.
and Root Gaming, same thing in Starcraft.
Yeah.
So those were the main three that maybe I could join in the future. But if it wasn't them, then I'm not really interested in joining a team. I've
Totally.
gone
Yeah.
like at the around that time I got a few offers. I'm not going to name the teams, but it was kind of like a moment like, wow, this is actually happening.
Mm. Yep.
So at Cheeseadelphia, I actually represented Root,
Mhm.
which was crazy to me.
So cool,
And
man.
then I didn't officially join Root until I was out in LA.
Mhm.
Um, and that like around that time, I started becoming closer with Cats. Pretty cool dude. He was just essentially giving me in a time and area where I could just do whatever I want.
Mhm.
I could focus on streaming for a month without having to worry about anything. I could just do that
Yep.
and see what happens.
Mhm.
If I want to keep streaming after, cool. Around this time, I actually also not dropped out of college, but I stopped going to like I withdrew from the semester.
Okay. Sure.
So I have some time that I still need to complete for college in order to get my diploma degree.
Mhm.
But I made the decision while I was in LA to pursue streaming more full time
Mhm.
as my main thing, and it was because of that. And I also gained a lot of like I had a lot of growth during that time I was out there.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, I also started feeling a lot of ladder rage around that time too.
Okay.
because I had really high expectations for myself after
Mm.
that.
Yep.
Like I just joined Root. I just had an amazing
Uh-huh.
result in my
Yep.
eyes at a competition. My stream was growing really quickly, and my skill level was growing really quickly.
Right.
So then when I started my growth was stagnating
Mhm.
on either Twitch or in my play, I would double down on myself for that.
Mhm.
Not in a good way where I just got to work harder. It
Mhm.
was more like why am I so bad now? Like why am
Yeah.
I not how am I so stupid?
You lost
Like
the
a
touch.
lot of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So then I was I can think of a few examples of this, but it was great while I was out there to have that supporting figure there.
Mhm.
But then when I'm back home and I don't have that supporting figure there, I mean, I live with my mother.
Mhm.
My mom's pretty cool about stuff, but it's not like the same. Like she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks. But like I have to rely on myself for a lot of things.
Mhm. Mhm.
I can go to these people. Difficult for me to,
Sure. Yep.
and the ego gets in the way still a lot with Starcraft, and has been for the past year
Uh-huh.
a ton.
Yeah.
So that's like the story with joining Root and being in LA. A lot of stuff happened when I was in LA
Mhm.
regarding the stream, so that was pretty neato.
Yeah, I definitely kind of resonate with, you kind of mentioning that idea of like sort of the stabilizing figure, right? This person who like and sometimes the person not being a relative helps in a way, right? Because it's like,
Hmm.
oh, like, oh, parents, they're supposed to like do
Yeah,
this and that and whatever, right? But
obligated.
yeah, but like, Cats comes out of nowhere and goes, hey, like I want to give you this opportunity. I want to, sort of create room for you to do this. Let me just give you space to do your thing. And also, whatever support you need without like, there's no agenda there. There's no like, oh, he's doing this because of this, that is, he's just literally like, I see like a sameness in you, right? Like you're talking about this, you know, psychology and mental health and spirituality and all these things. It's like, oh, okay, like I like you, kid. You come out to LA kind of thing. It's there's a certain
Yeah,
energy there that I think really can do something special. So that's, I guess amazing to have it, and then also like tough to hear you say, yeah, and then now that I'm not there, it's like, oh, you kind of, like you feel that missing chunk kind of thing.
yeah. He was so around this early December, late November. I'm not sure exactly what day it
Mm-hmm.
was when I was re-diagnosed with the severe depressive disorder and general
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Yeah.
I was also put on antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have the box in the bathroom beside all my stuff, but like I didn't. I took them out to LA. I was talking to Cats about them, and this was like the worst depressive episode I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was bad.
Yeah.
Um, he was. He told me that you don't need those.
Mm.
It was like that, like one of those like scenes out of like an inspirational story
Mm-hmm.
on the internet that you read. It was exactly that. So I didn't take any of the antidepressants while I was out there,
Mm-hmm.
but like I just got better while I
Wow.
was out there.
Yeah.
Like he was just that supportive.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted space and I didn't want to talk to anybody for the day and I just want to do that, he was like, "Yeah, sure. We don't have to talk about anything. You can just you can do your stream, then you can just do whatever. You can watch videos, make food, like, whatever you want to do.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'll make food if you just want to stay in your own zone. I'll
Mm-hmm.
make some food and then you just eat and do whatever."
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was the most supportive person ever. It
Mm-hmm.
was crazy. Really thankful to him. A lot of people don't really know that side of Cats,
Mm.
but he is incredibly like he's like a pillar to some people
Mm.
that need him.
Yeah.
And he has he can take a lot of shit. He can handle a lot.
Yeah.
So
Wow, very cool. And
yeah,
yeah, it's not just, I mean,
real
I've
stuff.
seen Katz's food pictures on Twitter. This is not just any meal getting passed through the door to you that we're talking about. This
Yeah.
is some good cooking.
He introduced me to Peruvian cuisine, which
Ooh.
sometimes they don't even like they cook their food with like citric acid or something like that, like
Mhm.
lime. Lime is a
Yeah.
huge thing. He actually brought me to like a Peruvian restaurant where I had like some raw fish that was cooked with lime.
Mhm.
It was really weird, but it was good. It was good stuff. Um, yeah, it was. He tried to get me on keto. I think at one point I
Uh-huh.
wanted to try it, but like I also like Triscuits way too much, man.
Yeah.
I can't.
I will say, I mean, I definitely, have not been up against what you have been up against, it sounds like, in terms of mental health stuff, but I do kind of get he's not kidding about the Triscuits, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. But yeah, I have definitely had sort of the depressive swings kind of throughout my life. Um and for me, like, there's different sort of things that can get me out of that, but I have actually noticed that eating more like heavily fat and protein based has like made my swings less. So like, I don't know, just while we're out here spitballing, like talking about things that have and haven't worked for us, like, to anybody out there on YouTube, that anecdotally in my sample size of one has seemed to help. When I fall off the wagon, especially if I have like sugar, like some real junk, I will almost definitely be sad the next day. It's like clockwork, man. The weirdest
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah, I relate with that so much as well. Um, I also have body dysmorphia.
Mm.
It's pretty major too. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. I don't want to self-diagnose something being severe, but like
Sure.
I will beat myself up for like a week
Mm.
after eating too much one day,
Mhm.
and I will starve myself the next day
Wow.
to
Yeah.
like make up for the calories
Uh-huh.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I can understand from this type of cycle going on that if I eat like sugary foods a lot one day, then that will just put me down in the dumps mentally
Mm.
for the next
Mhm.
few days.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a reward for something and I
Mhm.
pace myself.
Yeah.
That totally changes it. And it's not like when I was younger, I didn't have that. I would just eat like 2 chocolate bars for lunch
Right.
at in elementary school because
Uh-huh.
I could.
Yeah.
Like now I care too much about other stuff,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But that kind of like builds up with like eating food. And if I eat too much, I feel bad. Like I ate so much last night for 420.
Oh, man.
It was, but it was a special occasion, so
Sure, sure, sure.
I kind of use that as a justification.
It's a celebratory, yes, it's like different rules kinda
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Makes sense.
If I'm eating salad a lot, it's not the same though. Like
Mm.
I feel good for eating salads.
Yeah. Yeah, totally makes sense. So, okay, changing gears just slightly. You kind of talked about the time when you were starting to ramp into streaming. So, what initially made you say, "I'm going to try streaming. Like, this is the thing that I'm going to
Mm.
do." Were you hanging out on Twitch before that, like watching
Oh
other
yeah.
streams and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So my life is consuming Twitch content at that point.
Uh huh.
Um before Okay, so I started playing StarCraft
Hmm.
before I got into Twitch. But then playing StarCraft made me more aware of Twitch streamers,
Hmm.
namely Day 9. So Day 9 got me into watching Twitch in general. And then from Day 9, I started watching a lot of Destiny content, infamous Destiny videos that are out there.
Yeah.
I was a huge Destiny fan. And then from watching Destiny, getting more into the just standard content creator Twitch sphere, I started watching Soda Poppin',
Hmm.
Wreckful, all these guys. Um, that became like the guys I would watch every day as much as I could,
Hmm.
to the point where Wreckful and Soda Poppin became my favorite two people in the world.
Mm.
Um, I met Soda Poppin actually at DreamHack Austin 2018, which
Hmm.
was pretty sick. Like that was like whoa,
Uh huh.
whoo, and just these streamers were like to me just what I wanted to be.
Mm.
These
Yeah.
guys were what I wanted to be. I was a bartender for a bit. I liked interacting with people on a regular basis.
Hmm.
It was my favorite job I've ever had. I was good at it too. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was the place I was working at had me working every single busy night,
Wow.
because I could handle the whole restaurant by myself.
Mhm.
Um, and I also got the most tips out of everyone
Mhm.
because it was a fondue restaurant, and I was the only male bartender there. Target audience was middle-aged white women.
Ah.
Um, yeah,
So
so it
they
made it a lot
bring out the
easier.
hunky Mackintac to do the bartending gig and get all the tips. I see. I
Yeah,
see.
I loved it though. Talking to these people was
Yeah.
amazing, and I wanted to do that as a career
Mm.
at one point. Well, still do. Like, but that was like the turning point for what I want to do. Before I wanted to be like a software engineer only
Mhm.
or a chemical engineer, I think was actually at the time what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Um, but then doing this bartending gig, something I was talking about doing for a long time with one of my best friends was just like the turning point, like, oh, I love this. I'm talking to all these new people. It's going amazingly. And I'm just having so much fun. It wasn't like I was working there. I
Yeah.
was making money by just chatting
Mhm.
and making drinks. That was sick.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
started doing it when I was 18 actually. I wasn't even allowed to drink, but you're allowed to get your bartending license kind
Mhm.
of.
Sure.
Um, and that was just amazing. So that segued into eventually becoming a streamer because it just was a natural thing. I'm really into gaming. I'm not a
Mhm.
normie. Like I couldn't relate with a lot of the people at school, except for like a really niche group of people. I mean, I was friends with everybody in my later years of high school, but I wasn't really in with everybody,
Okay.
except for just a few people who played games all day.
Mhm.
Um, and it just makes sense. Like I play a lot of video games. That's what I do all day. Uh, I watch these streamers that I kind of take my personality from, or
Mhm.
I did back then, and I loved bartending. I loved talking to people all the time.
Mhm.
Like that was great. Streamer's just the best job for that.
Right, right, right.
So started doing it in an August after I completed my first year of college and passed it. Um, I decided to try it out. Oh, my cat's trying to get in my room.
If you need to
It was
let him
great.
or her in, go for it.
Uh, he's chilling. He's
You
chilling.
know he's just gonna keep meowing.
Yeah, I crawled to the top of my chair and started scratching it though. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. I'll bring him in. Hello. Hello. That's darkness. It
Cute.
is the best. Oh,
Total cutie.
those are fake glasses. I like wearing glasses a lot. I have some prescription ones right here, so I actually do normally wear glasses, but
Uh-huh.
I like the aesthetic of glasses
Yeah,
a
yeah.
ton. So
Makes
I
sense.
have a lot of fake pairs
Nice,
because
man.
prescription is too expensive. Where was
So
I? What was I talking about?
yeah, so you're saying basically, you're kind of looking at these different pieces of your life. You're like, okay, the bartending thing's cool. I like talking to people. I'm this like,
Yeah.
I'm not a normie. I get along with this sort of core set of people who play video games all the time. I play video games all the time. If I do the math and I add up all these chunks of myself and pieces of my life, like it equals streamer, basically. Like I should do
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
Yeah. Basically. And my approach to streaming at the start, I think even now, is pretty bad overall. Like I have all these idols that I wanted to become like, but then I
Mm.
kind of just like strayed away from that. But now I'm
Mm-hmm.
going back into being more like them, I think.
Mm.
Like I kind of just made my whole stream like just StarCraft 2 ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like that I did that,
Okay.
but I mean, I just spent an hour and a half watching anime fights with chat. Like that was that was sick. Like
Yeah.
that's I don't know. I like being able to chill with people. I've
Mm-hmm.
kind of strayed away from doing that conversational interaction type thing
Mm-hmm.
and more so just like talking while I'm playing a game
Mm-hmm.
and I'm explaining some stuff in the game and I'm taking the game way too seriously.
Mm.
when in my eyes, I want to be more just interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
I have this like constant conversation with myself all the time, but then when I start streaming, I'm still in the mindset to like play Starcraft at a
Yeah.
high level, so I try to avoid that now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, we're trying to go more towards what my ideal was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like, a lot of us probably have that sort of kind of mental dialogue that you're talking about where it's like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like, or, oh, I ran the stream this way last night and I didn't like that. And what do I need to
Mhm.
do differently and all these different things, right? And
Yeah.
it can also be really punishing, particularly in StarCraft. I feel like, I look at other communities, right? I watch StarCraft streamers mostly, but I try to stay, somewhat aware of like the rest of what's going on Twitch as best I can, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I feel like people don't react quite as hard if their favorite, Dota player or their favorite Apex streamer or whatever, WoW streamer, insert game, right? They don't react quite the same as when the StarCraft streamer says, I'm going to play a Magic Arena draft tonight, like,
Yeah. Yeah. StarCraft fans, well, I mean, thinking from an outsider's perspective, StarCraft is an extremely dedicated game
mm-hmm,
where if you pick it up, you're not going to be able to play it that well, and it's
mm,
going to be very confusing. Look at Apex, survive till the end, shoot enemies,
sure, yeah,
jump around a bit, slide.
mm-hmm.
I'm playing a lot of Apex recently, I know. Call of Duty, Halo, click heads,
Yep.
Counter-Strike, Valorant, like all these games,
Mm-hmm.
they're really easy for beginners to get into and play.
Mm,
Where the people playing StarCraft have a pretty different mindset when it comes to games.
mm-hmm.
In general, at least. I'm not speaking for everybody.
Sure.
So if you start becoming a fan of StarCraft, that means like you fit into this kind of niche now
Mm,
that doesn't translate well to other games, except for like maybe chess, funny
mm-hmm.
enough, because it's another strategic game. RTS isn't really the most popular thing right now. Age of Empires 2, another example of a game that StarCraft people like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, aside from the conversations, which one is better, which is something that's been happening a lot recently.
Yeah.
Um, so if you try and like branch out of StarCraft, it's very, very difficult unless you're like your whole identity on Twitch is not based on the game at all.
Yeah.
An example of this would probably be, I mean, Destiny now. Like
Mm,
he started out with StarCraft, but at the time when he was streaming StarCraft, it wasn't really exactly the gameplay and playing at a
right.
high level. It
Yep.
was his personality, his antics in the game, like
Mm-hmm.
all that
Opinions on
that drew
things.
people to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he went to another game, he did lose a lot of his tryhard StarCraft viewers, but he had enough of a crowd around him that were there for his personality that he was able to go into other games.
Mm-hmm.
League of Legends is what he followed up with. And then now, like he can just play any game that he wants.
Right.
A lot of streamers start out this way. Soda Poppin'
Mm-hmm.
with World of Warcraft, Wreckful as well, but then Hearthstone, which
Mm,
is when he blew up, he gained a really loyal community that allowed him to go into doing IRL stuff a
mm-hmm.
lot. Like his Japan vlogs are legendary.
Mm,
Pokemon Go, like all that stuff. He like they were really centered on their personalities. It's
right.
harder to do that with StarCraft because StarCraft is a very, very intense game
Yeah.
where if you're going to be playing it and you're talking to chat, you're playing at a much lower level than you could be playing.
Mm-hmm.
It requires just so much intense focus where it's just not as fun if you're not um, playing as well as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of streamers for StarCraft know this.
Right.
So then a lot of the time they try and play their best. Um, yeah, it's just hard to grow a community based on your personality unless you do that from the forefront and
Mhm.
you don't focus much on the gameplay. Vibe is a good example of someone who's done that.
Mm.
It's mostly like educational stuff in general,
Mhm.
but also people just love his personality. People
Yeah.
watch him all the time for that.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember, I spoke with him, not for, like, an interview, but just kinda talking about learning and stuff a handful of months ago. And I kinda started it out by saying, like, "Man, I feel like I'm bringing down the mood because you guys were, like, having a party, and now I'm, like, gonna try to get all serious face and talk about, how to get better." And he was just like, "Bro, this is just how my stream is always. Like, you walked in and it felt like a party, and, like, we're all just a bunch of, people chilling. It is
Yeah.
always like that. So, we're gonna take an hour and we're gonna get serious about learning, and then it's gonna go back to being a party kind of thing."
Yeah.
Yeah, so I totally get what you mean in terms of, yeah, certain people are able to do that, right? Where it's just by flipping the stream on, you get a certain feeling, right? You're not physically present with the person, but you have the sensation that you're just chilling with vibe kind of thing.
Yeah. I watch
It's
Vibe a lot actually,
mhm.
but when I was starting to get into Twitch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can from a viewer's perspective, I knew his stream was like really nice. Fenner is probably a better
Mm.
example.
Mhm.
Daniel
Yeah.
Fenner.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched he was the guy I was watching the most back when I was like a Diamond League, low
Mhm.
masters. Um and with his he was not the biggest streamer. He was like 100 viewers or so a lot of the time.
Mhm.
He moved into Overwatch
Yeah.
because he was like his streams were centered around a lot of just like talking with chat while playing games.
Yep.
And that went well for him. Like his transition out went well because he had a lot of loyal viewers and that went with him. He
Mhm.
built it on his personality from the start. Like he'd play stuff like Alien Isolation on stream. And I was there for that type of thing. And that was sick. That was amazing. I was
Yeah.
one of those people who watched him for his personality
Mm.
because he was able to set that stuff up really well, I think.
Mhm.
That's something I'm envious of him for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so interesting, man. It seems like you really kind of think about this kind of thing a lot, and you're, obviously like a true student of the game as far as, Twitch streaming, like, and not in the sense of like, oh, I have to do this because I want for it to be, my business or whatever. Like, you just actually love this shit to that degree that it's in you, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
it's my personality, kind of. A lot of
I-
it is.
so I am really kind of curious to hear about this. You've sort of talked on and off about these sort of struggles with ego and struggles with sort of stream vision and the different kind of like the ebb and flow of all of that. It seems that those two topics almost seem like unrelated, but it sounds like they're kind of tangled up in some way too.
Massively.
Um, I would love to just kind of hear, your thoughts present day in terms of, different things that you want to be doing, and, how you do still feel this pull towards, like, the try hard ladder stuff, but then also it's like, doesn't feel quite the same. The improvement's not there. How are you thinking about all that?
Yeah. All right. So obviously, when I started streaming, I wanted to be a pro player as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was still like trying to get better. I was mentioning this when I joined Root. I had expectations for myself. I had goals. But with these expectations and goals, when I did get a bit better, I started gaining a big ego
Mm,
where I set really high standards for myself. And those standards are here today still
yeah.
from then. Um, which I held on to. I mean, my ego was actually kind of still a little bit, but it was tied in with my MMR.
Mm,
So if I'm playing games on stream and I'm losing games, my MMR is going down. I'm like, wow, this shouldn't be happening for me.
yeah.
So I start getting angry on stream.
Mm-hmm.
And from my experience watching a lot of viewers or a lot of streamers as a viewer, I know that when a streamer that I don't watch for rage gets angry, it's
Mm,
uncomfortable
yeah.
when it's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because my rage is not like Artosis rage.
Yeah.
My rage is just general displeasure and unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
So I that started becoming a normal thing for me for a while. Still sometimes is. I
Mm,
try to avoid it as much as I can,
mhm,
but it's there sometimes. Um, it happened a lot starting in February of last year,
mhm,
and then has since then been like my main enemy was streaming.
mm,
My
okay.
ego is I try not to really be like too what's the word? I don't know. I don't try and see my like look at myself on a pedestal.
Mhm,
Um but I know where I can be with StarCraft,
yep,
and I beat myself up for not being there.
yeah,
So every time I stream and I don't live up to my expectations for myself, I start getting to myself in my head.
mhm,
I vent a lot during games, um, to the point where like I started hitting my desk a lot.
mm.
And now there's a crack all the way through the bottom of my desk.
Oh, wow, yeah,
It's held up by a pillar right now.
uh-huh,
Um, so I've been like seriously trying to think about that stuff, but it's something I've been trying to work on for a year but haven't been able to fix.
mm,
So I'm now starting to just like not care about a lot of things with streaming,
mhm,
like ladder games. If I play against a Protoss player and I don't want to play against a Protoss player, odds are I will just leave the game
mm,
and then try and find someone not Protoss to play with because I know I enjoy doing that.
uh-huh,
I say that like sometimes as a joke,
mhm,
but I do mean it. I don't enjoy playing against Protoss, and
sure,
I know if I play against Protoss, my mental state will go down most likely.
mhm,
So I try to avoid that,
mhm,
and that's been like one of the stories of my recent streams. I've been working really hard to not let myself fall into that trap.
mhm,
I'm trying to more so avoid the issue instead
yeah,
of try and tackle it because every attempt at tackling it has not worked.
mhm, mhm,
Um, I think that's good for me though, because that's helped me a lot recently with my mindset with streaming. It
yeah,
hasn't really shown on streams, but I'm starting to take a seat back from focusing on ladder and more focusing on content creation. Not
mhm,
not content creation so much so as more just straight up not ladder content.
yeah,
I was chilling with channel watching anime fights today as an example. I did a 1v2 against Diamond League players the other day.
mhm,
Um, analysis of games, going to be going over replays with viewers and stuff like that. Like that, I'm just focusing on branching away from my thinking about stream as a ladder session.
mhm,
And soon I'm gonna just start playing any game that I want on stream
mhm,
with some regular StarCraft stuff
sure,
in there,
yeah,
which is something I think I should have been doing a year ago
mhm,
because I had to talk with Vibe actually about streaming a while back. And he one of the main things he told me was stream what you want to,
mhm,
because if you aren't doing that, it will build up in your head
yeah,
that you don't want to be doing this.
mhm,
So that's something I've been focusing a lot on recently. And it's something that I've taken different approaches to in the past,
mhm,
dealing with the ego, that is,
yeah,
that haven't really worked. They work temporarily, but not for that long.
mhm,
My goals
mhm,
with streaming don't end in StarCraft.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm eventually going to be getting out of it because I can't see myself streaming StarCraft every day. I can't see myself as like a Winter Gaming.
interesting, uh-huh,
Like, that's not. I used to watch Winter before he blew up, and he was a great streamer.
mhm,
Kind of a Winter hipster that way. He was ZL Freebird back in the day, but then he's been streaming StarCraft ever since then, consistently, and I
mhm,
can't see myself doing that.
yeah, yeah,
That's not the type of personality I have. I want to do more play stuff that I want to, and just go with the flow of things.
mhm,
I feel like I take a lot of Soda Poppin's ideas on that. Not ideas, but like that. Like it's his streaming lifestyle is similar to what I want mine to be.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, him, Pokelul's, um, Ludwig to an extent nowadays. Just do what you want and don't tie yourself down to one thing too much unless you really want to do it.
Mhm.
Soda Popman still loves playing World of Warcraft. He just barely does it nowadays because it doesn't immediately appeal to him. An expansion comes out, he'll play that.
Mhm.
Classic came out, he grinded that for a while,
Yeah.
right? Like, eventually, I want to be moving out of Starcraft to more stuff that I enjoy a lot.
Mhm.
That way, I can give better content to people because I'm happier more, most likely.
Yeah.
Um, I enjoy being there. I can be more myself because when I'm playing Starcraft, I'm locked into like this one competitive version of myself that I don't want to be.
Mhm.
I was having a talk with Panda Bear Me a bit about this last night, actually,
Yeah.
and I'm not really too happy with playing StarCraft all the time because I know I'm hyper competitive with this, so it's hard to kind of like stay away from ladder. But
Mhm.
people love ladder. That's the thing. People love watching ladder.
Yep.
So I also gotta be like, okay, if I'm not doing ladder, I'm not going to get as many viewers.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if I do ladder and I get angry, well, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
lose a
yeah.
lot of viewers too.
Right.
I think a lot about viewership stuff as well.
Mhm.
Um, Not so much as bigger number, better person. More so like I can maximize my growth this way.
Mhm.
And if more people are watching me, that means more people like being here,
Mhm. Yep.
which is great. More people in my like more like a higher viewer number means more people are talking to me in chat, which gives me energy. So
Mhm.
much energy. Like
Yeah, it's huge, right?
it's incredible how much it can change a mood. I
Mhm.
can be having a bad ladder session, get a raid from a person, and then if they're not talking to me, it's fine because the viewers that come in are talking a lot,
Yeah.
and I can look at them and I can be hanging out with them. And then
Mhm.
that is like I can be in a bad mood beforehand, and like blah blah blah. Then raid comes in, a lot of people talking in chat. I'm like, oh wow, nice. I have something
Yeah.
to talk about. This is great. People are asking questions. I'm answering them. I'm not focused too much on laddering. I'm more focused on people,
Mhm.
and it's just it changes so much. It made if I'm having a bad ladder session, just changes my mood to just happy. It
Mhm.
could just do that. Some people can look at that and think I'm being fake by putting on it like a smile when people
Ah,
came
interesting.
in.
Mhm. Of
Uh, Maples already called me out for that in a stream once,
course.
and I just don't think he understood that
Mhm.
I just love talking to people.
Right, yeah. Dude, I'm
That's the whole
glad you
reason I'm
get
streaming.
to I'm so glad you get to set the record straight on that cuz that kind of stuff, there's no way outside of like somebody getting to just observe our conversation about streamer stuff, there's no way you can ever sell the narrative, right? Because if it's in the
Yeah,
moment, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, he's just bullshitting chat," right? You can never be believable unless it's right now. It didn't just happen. You're like, "Hey, this happens and I find it emotionally uplifting. It literally makes me happier." And
yeah.
yes, I am then visibly happier. Like I'm so glad that if I did nothing else tonight other than just give you the 5 seconds it took to say that, I feel like, "All right, we're done here." The interview is a success.
I think a lot of people need to understand that about streamers
Mm,
because they can notice the difference
yep.
when someone's upset before a raid, but then when the raid comes through
Mhm.
and a lot of viewers are there, they're like clout chasers or some shit like that. They're
Mm,
trying to like sell a fake version of themselves. So
right.
they see someone who's angry and miserable go from cheery and uplifting. They're like, "Oh wow, this guy is putting on a mask." I don't I mean, I can see that, but that's not how I feel when that type of stuff happens.
Mhm.
Um like I try so hard not to be not fake sometimes
Yeah.
cuz I don't want to be. Like I want people to like me at face value, but I don't try and be hyper positive about stuff. This is like one of the main things I say differentiates me from maybe not exactly, but I'm not the same person as Neuro.
Mhm.
I'm not hyper positive about stuff,
Mm,
or I don't look at stuff in a positive way a lot of the time.
mm.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Sure.
He looks at a lot of stuff in a healthy, productive manner.
Mhm.
I look at stuff in my standard way of looking at stuff,
Yeah.
which is not always healthy and productive.
Mhm.
And I don't try and sell that as or sell a version of myself that is just always happy at stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not saying Neuro is. I'm just saying like he's known for being zen and positive about a lot of
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
I more try and just be myself, and myself can change really quickly
Mm.
depending on what's going on in the stream.
Mhm.
If I'm losing a lot of games against players I don't think I should be losing to, for example,
Mhm.
I'll be in a bad mood. But then something can take my mind off of that, like a raid where a lot of people start talking, or just someone coming into chat that just wants to talk. And I start focusing on them and I forget about losing. And
Mm.
then me forgetting about that just sends my mood up.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be right. It just has to be something that takes my mind off of the ladder.
Sure.
Um, Usually does happen with a lot of raids though.
Mhm.
Like I can use that as probably the most common thing that changes it.
Totally. Yeah. 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 So
But
interesting, man.
that's that.
Yeah. I love sort of this discussion of like, different streamers and how they approach mindset and that kind of thing. Like, I think people like people always go to neuro, right, when they start talking about mindset, stuff like that. And I almost like, I mean, he's never said this to me or anything, but I almost got to imagine, like, in a way, at some point you just got to be like, shit, man, can we stop bringing me up every time, where it's like
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure, right? But
He's
it's
human too.
interesting. Like, I've kind of thought about this too, right? I do the same thing as you. Like, okay, how does my sort of on stream mentality differ from Neuro, who I really appreciate for his on stream mentality, and like how can I add something to the conversation or whatnot? Like, and I love that you've been mindful about that in the sense of like, okay, I'm not Neuro, I don't have the same raw materials as him, and so I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be me, right? Like that's you're being like completely authentic in that way, and also trying to steer that towards like a good version of you, right? Where it's like, yeah, I have these swings. I have these emotional swings. This is me, right? And I'm going to try to do the best thing that I can with that because like out there, if you think about all the viewership that is Twitch or Starcraft Twitch, right? Not everybody can mold themselves into something that looks like Neuro. They might need to mold themselves into something that looks more like you, right? And so then that viewer's like, oh, actually, this dude Mackintac, like, he looks a little bit more like the same prototype that I'm molded out of. And here's how he's tackling these challenges that we both hit, right? And I've kind of thought about that myself too, because I like mindset stuff. I like thinking about that and trying to make that a piece of my content, whatever. Like, I am significantly more emotionally transparent than Neuro. If
Yeah.
if I'm upset with myself or the way a ladder session's going or chat just said something hurtful, right? That will get me and it will visibly get me. You will know that the
Oh yeah.
streamer is not happy, that the streamer is hurting because you said those words. And I've had to just look at it and be like, I mean, that's freaking me, man. I can't like I can't alter that really. So I got to like figure out how to make content around that the best I can. Like I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I think that topic that you just brought up is just so interesting. I'm really really glad that like you went down that path kind of.
It's a topic I've talked a decent amount about in the past.
Mhm.
On stream, I make jokes about it
Mm.
because I mean, if you're as positive as Neuro all the time, this is usually what I say. There's got to be something up there. There's got to be something going on. But
Yeah.
in reality, I think he's just like he he's got a very strong mental.
Yeah.
Like his mentality
Mhm.
is amazing.
Yep.
No, like if you try and pull off a Neuro type personality as a streamer, that's not going to last long.
Right.
Or if it is, it's going to be very apparent that you are faking it
Mm.
for a long period of time. Like I can pretend for a day that I'm hyper positive. I can't do that for 2 days in a row.
Uh-huh.
Like if I keep losing games, it's going to leak through no matter
Mm.
what. Neuro, maybe you can get a little mad sometimes.
Mhm.
Like he's human, but
Sure.
he is like way above everyone else, streamer wise, in terms of
Mhm.
mentality
Yeah.
that cares about the game.
Mhm.
He like thinks about the losses, he thinks about the wins, all that stuff, and he can still remain positive and have a productive mindset relating
Mhm.
to it. Not everyone's like that. Rarely anybody is like that.
Right.
And I don't want to pretend that I'm like that because
Mhm.
I know I'm not. But at the same time, I don't want to be angry all the time.
Right.
So as you were saying before, I want to show myself on stream. I just don't want to show the bad parts as much as I can if I
Mhm.
can avoid it. Because like no one ever wants to show the worst parts of themselves.
Mhm.
I think it's good to sometimes so people recognize that you're human as well. Like you are a person. It's
Mm.
a way to more relate with a lot of viewers.
Right.
That's why I was a massive fan of Reckful. Actually,
Mhm.
he was my favorite person for a while. Um, because he was just so open about a lot of stuff, and I related to him on so
Mhm.
many things because he let through those parts of himself that normally people would hide.
Right.
Um, and I try to do kind of the same thing,
Mhm.
but at the same time, if I can limit the amount of times that I'm angry and miserable,
Mhm.
then I will do that.
Right.
That's just like in general, you want to do that, right? You don't want to be upset all the time. So if I'm having a bad time, sometimes I'll just end stream
Mm.
because I know it's going to be very hard to get out of this. Maybe I just need to chill.
Sure.
Um, but a lot of the time, sometimes it doesn't happen.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of stuff I've thought about on. Um, it's a it's an interesting thing to think about though,
Mhm.
because you have to be in other people's shoes to actually understand it. If you're just watching as a viewer, you
Yeah.
have to be there to understand.
Mhm.
You have to be in that position because otherwise, you'll just take things at face value.
Right. Right. Yeah, they're just seeing the angry dude and they're like, "Why is dude angry? I feel uncomfortable. I'm going to click a different stream or whatever."
Yeah,
Yeah. Man, oh man. Yeah, I mean this is like okay, it's heavy topics, right? We've gotten into a lot of heavy duty stuff. And I appreciate
yeah,
you
I'm
going
fine with
there
it.
with me. Like, but I will say like this is one of the things that does give me hope a little bit. Like, especially I feel like so you're like a good chunk of years younger than I am, right? But like increasingly I see people who are sort of my age or maybe younger. Like but particularly the cohort that's around your age that are willing to have these conversations. Be like, here's the shit I'm dealing with. This like these are the struggles. These are the daily struggles. This is the mental narrative. Like and the fact that like so many of the interviewees too have been like I had this crazy health scare. This is what happened or I'm dealing with this emotional struggle or whatever it is. Like my parents' generation did not and does not talk about that shit. And their parents' generation definitely did not, right? In a way that made them have to like man, I'm really on my soapbox. I'm sorry. It's your interview, not mine.
No, no, no.
I'll
Go ahead.
finish the thought. Like
It's a conversation. It's
yeah, yeah,
fine.
that's fair. That's fair. Um, in a way that made them have to face those struggles alone, right? And like, why? Like, I imagine a world where you and Cats don't have, the Twitter DM conversation where you're starting to talk about this kind of stuff. You don't have that period of time in your life, and instead you take the antidepressants, right? Like I had an ex who went the antidepressant route, decided it wasn't for her, and I watched her have to withdraw from that stuff. Like, and I don't mean to knock it because I know there are people for whom it works, right? I don't want to say
Yeah,
it's
of
evil,
course.
right? But I will say that I think doctors prescribe them and don't necessarily warn people of the pros and cons, right? And I watched her experience with it where, it's she decided she wanted to kind of go back, right? And it was not straightforward and she did not know to expect that, right? And
Mm,
that's serious stuff, right? I mean, people lose
very
their
much.
lives over that. Like
Yeah.
so I think about how big of a difference it makes that people like you are willing to talk about this stuff and I just like it is like the thing that gives me hope about the world and the human race.
I mean, I think my role models for that, like
Mm,
Reckful.
mhm.
Honestly, he's the reason why I'm so open about stuff on stream,
Yeah.
and he's probably the reason why a lot of people are. A lot of big streamers interact with Reckful on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of the big streamers wouldn't be big today if it weren't for him, and
Mhm.
then as a result, they wouldn't be the role models for as many people as they are for.
Right.
So I think Reckful for a lot of stuff relating to mental health. Another huge thing, actually, that brought mental health more to the forefront on Twitch is
Mhm.
his interviews with Dr. K, Healthy Gamer
Mm.
GG. And ever since that, it kind of caught on to be more open about mental health issues and stuff like that because people deal with it.
Yeah.
And it was great to see their role models also deal with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people who like seem that they're just happy all the time,
Sure.
they go into it. Healthy Dr. K, Healthy Gamer GG. I don't know if you're familiar with their interview or his stuff.
Mm-mm.
Um, he's basically had a lot of sessions with Twitch streamers on stream. I'll name a few. So Rekful, Mizkif, Fusely, I think, Lily Pichu, you could Trainwreck, like a bunch of these big
Yeah.
name streamers have
Interesting.
had
Yeah.
these sessions on stream with him where they explore what they're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And that has caused people to be more mindful of this whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grateful for that because
Yeah.
it's affected me personally a lot. And I know if it's affected me personally, it's affected other people personally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Jeez. Okay, I've taken already almost an hour and a half of your time. We've had a lot of heavy
oh,
duty
wow.
talks. I want to hit a
Yeah,
couple of like, let's just do a couple of fun ones.
sure.
Lift the mood, right? We talked a lot about lifting the mood
Sounds
tonight.
good.
Um, I'm really curious. I'm selfishly very curious about this. You kind of talked about, all right, in HOTS, right? You attained diamond. You were a god gamer, right?
God gamer in my eyes.
And then there's this, you'd already talked about plat to diamond was like the grind is starting to slow down, right?
Yep.
And then you got to make the even slower climb up from there. And I'm really curious as a guy who's as, sort of improvement minded and sort of thoughtful as you, what that looked like, because I'm stuck at this point, right? I've been diamond for a minute. Was it just grinding massive amounts of games? Was there like, okay, if I were to like
Yeah.
rewind you to that point in time, could you do it quicker knowing now what you do?
I mean, yeah, of course. I think I could. Because I didn't do anything really learning wise.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of games and I just built up my mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do any build orders until I was already masters,
Mm-hmm.
except for 8 pull swarm host from Agile. That was my ZVZ go-to build. 93% win rate.
Wow.
Really good.
Damn.
But I didn't really look at replays. I didn't try and see too many flaws in my play. I would just do stuff and I would improve because I would be able to do stuff better the next time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just it. Like in game, I never went through replays. I don't ever go through my own replays even now,
Wow.
unless I'm coaching someone. Then
Mm-hmm.
I go through their replays and then I go through mine to like show them an example of something.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think if you're improving, one of the better things is to watch players better than you play,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see the ideas why they do stuff, but not just like see it to replicate it, see it to understand it. Because understanding, I think, is the most important thing. That's why I don't think
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to teach somebody a game, or sorry, teach someone Starcraft, you
Yeah.
don't teach them a build.
Mm.
You teach them how to react to stuff. You teach them why this is good against this,
Mm-hmm.
why you would be doing this build, why you wouldn't be doing that build.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff like that. Focusing along the whys instead of just inflating your MMR through doing build orders, not understanding exactly why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to be. I I wouldn't want to be doing a roach max, not a roach max, sorry, a roach timing that hits at like 6 minutes or something, and just maybe kill the Protoss sometimes,
Yeah.
but then other times they'll just die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because then you will get to a cap and you won't understand why you're dying. Because if you start playing standard games at that point, you won't understand what position you're in against a Protoss. You won't understand how to react to certain things. You'll just be focused on tunnel vision on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of the tunnel vision, you're not going to be exposed to a lot of other situations, which come into focus later on
Mm-hmm.
when you're playing against difficult players like Masters Plus if you're a Diamond.
Sure.
Um, So it's just, I think the better way, if I were to go back and improve, I would check out my replays more often
Mm-hmm.
and just see how badly I'm playing. Because we don't realize just how
Yeah.
badly we're playing, what we could improve on.
Right.
when we're playing, because we're being stressed out to the max. We're just
Mhm.
trying to do everything we can. I went back and saw a game recently, like a week ago, and I was floating larva on a base for a long time, and
Mm.
I looked at that base in game. I was watching my camera, and I
Yeah.
didn't use the larva. I
Uh-huh.
didn't make drones. As a result of that, my economy was behind. If I made the drones there, just seeing that one thing made me more mindful of it for the
Mm.
like ever since then.
Yeah.
Like I try and remind myself constantly to just like hatchery key, make some drones
Mhm.
when I'm not paying too much attention. When yeah, so when I'm not paying attention, just make drones,
Mhm.
whatever. And it helps me even at a grandmaster level. Small things like that have big effects, and I would just focus more on seeing the flaws in my play through replays
Mhm.
and taking notes from not exactly taking notes, but watching players better than me to see what they do
Mhm.
against certain things. If I want to learn what to do against a certain build,
Mhm.
and asking questions a lot.
Yeah. So, okay, semi like just small like follow up. I want to zoom in on a little piece of what you said. So, I think there are a lot of people out there who fall into this category you're talking about where it's like they have they have their little build order, they do it and it works or it doesn't and they queue the next game, right? And they're in diamond.
Hmm.
And before everybody comes out with their pitchforks and tries to level that at me, okay? Do trying to refine a build has always been a path to macroing better and controlling units. So don't you come at me, Twitch chat. Um, but I do even I kind of have this problem to an extent where if you have limited time to play, right? And you do recognize like, okay, the game branches, right? It goes
Hmm.
wide in terms of the different situations you might have to react to and thinking I'm in this position, oh, they took a base early, I'm economically behind, all these different things, right? It does take some time to build out that wider understanding. Do you think there are shortcuts there, or do you think that's the part where
Yeah.
you just need the experience?
I mean, if you're busy, you can't really play the game like you're at school or whatnot. Maybe it's a
Mm,
lunch break. You can watch the game.
mm-hmm.
Only do that if you're motivated, though. If you want to
Sure.
improve at StarCraft, only do it when you're motivated.
Mm-hmm.
You will learn much quicker. Um, Play macro games.
Mm,
That's probably the best way to just improve your game knowledge. I looked up a lot to Snoot,
mm-hmm.
um, and he was like in my eyes, the perfect role model to follow for macro play.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of just the guy I looked to in terms of playstyle. He played the macro game all the time. I started playing the macro game all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, I learned a lot about the game. I didn't know what to do against Protoss at all in January of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what to do. So I just adopted a honorable macro zerg thing.
Uh-huh.
That was my title for my streams for a long time, where I would play only macro games.
Yeah.
And then because I was playing only macro games, I learned so much about just how to counter like reactions to everything.
Mm, yeah.
I was able to like a lot more situations if I wanted to deal with them optimally required spellcasters.
Mm,
So I started using spellcasters more. I can now use decently effectively around 5 to 6 army hotkeys
mm-hmm.
or control groups in a fight.
Yeah.
Maybe not in a fight, but during a fight rather. Because
Mm-hmm.
like one's for like a run by,
Sure.
two are for different spellcasters, infestors, vipers, main army or a ground army, Brewlord Corruptor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's usually how a fight against Protoss would go late game. So that's stuff that I gained through practice. So it gave me through playing macro games. I was able to use more late game units on a more regular basis than if I tried to end the game earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just usually more action packed. You're not waiting like the initial 2 minutes during the start of a game to start doing
Ah,
stuff, or
yeah.
3 minutes. So having the constant stress in a macro game is just more efficient time usage, I
Mm,
think.
that's interesting.
So for overall learning. But if you're trying to learn a cheese or something like that, or get really good at early game aggressive play, then I think
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just do build orders early on if that's your only goal. But if your goal is to like learn overall, I think just trying to force yourself to play macro games all the time
Mm-hmm.
will help you a ton.
Yeah, man, that's way cool. You've really made me think about this in a new way. So I've often heard people sort of preach the opposite thing to what you just said about kind of the build order based mentality of like, I'm going to make the game look like this at 7 minutes, and I'm going to have a fight with this same set of stuff, right? And I'm going to get good at using that same set of stuff. Um, and so like I kind of see it both ways, and I almost need to just like go think about this more. I need to like have more sleeps and showers between now and whenever I'm gonna like really understand, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the idea that in a macro game, right, you have that like BS 2 minutes at the beginning, right? And
Mhm.
then you have 20 minutes of feeling really stressed out while you're
Yeah.
looking everywhere, you're watching the mini map, you're looking at your money, you're trying to just, oh, what is the opponent doing now? Do I need to tech to something else? And all these different thoughts, right? Like, you're right, you do get more minutes, right? You get more minutes on the clock in the stressed out, like highly stimulated state. It's just that those minutes maybe have a little bit more variance in them than the 5 minutes of your little, 7 minute
Yeah.
timing or whatever. So I guess maybe they suit different needs. Like it depends kind of what you have to
Yeah.
work on, kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think just overall, if you're trying to improve,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing a build order and then something different happens, and then you're suddenly thrust out of your comfort zone,
Yep.
you're going to be walking around like a chicken with its head cut off, not
Yep.
knowing exactly what to do.
Feels bad.
So you got to keep that stuff in mind if you want to be more comfortable with a game where not everything goes your way. Just having general good mechanics through playing longer games, being
Mm-hmm.
exposed to more situations is very helpful,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. One more fun one. So just before we went live on this interview, and I joked about it at the beginning, we got the most spectacular thumbnail of you flexing for
Yeah.
the Twitch thumbnailer. Let's talk about fitness. So you did mention, kind of some sort of body image stuff. So I don't want to like make it super like a bad topic, but and obviously it's a thing that you care about. So are you dedicating time like every day for workouts? How do you kind of think about that?
I'm very lazy. I don't really do that.
Okay. Yeah.
So I love working out. Don't get me wrong. I love working out. I don't have the self-discipline to do daily workouts
Mhm.
unless I have access to like a workout center.
Mm.
So when it comes to like doing at-home workouts, this is my space to relax. That's it.
Yeah.
If I start doing like workouts here, I have weights. I have room to do push-ups. I have a pull-up bar on my door.
Mhm.
Like I can do all this stuff, but I'm not going to like give myself time to do that because I just don't have the self-discipline for it. That's something I
Mm.
can work on. And ideally, I would do that every day. I would work it every day
Yeah.
because it's just good. It's healthy. It's awesome.
Mm.
Um, but I find it very difficult to hold myself to a consistent workout schedule if it's not like a workout zone. The
Mm.
gym is an amazing place to get into the workout mindset. And then right as you walk out of the gym, you are back to doing whatever.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When you're at the gym, you're there to work out and that's it. When I'm in my room, I'm here to sleep. I'm here to watch stuff. I'm here to play games. I'm here to
Yep.
lay on the floor with my cat. Like,
Mhm.
that's another thing. If I do push-ups, my cat's around, he'll just be there and I'll just like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? Yo.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So I won't be able to do more push-ups because I'm just paying attention to my cat, like stuff
Mhm.
like that. Um, I'm not great for that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I do love working out. I'm really into powerlifting,
Mhm.
squats, deadlifts, bench press. Um, there's the aesthetic factor as well, but I'm more focused on strength.
Mhm.
Um, and working out is this is something people don't really think about working out. The healthier your body is, the better you'll play in games, the
Mhm.
better you'll perform.
Yep.
Reaction time will be faster, less mental fog. These two things alone have been scientifically proven to actually be effective. That's
Yeah.
why every pro team for
Yep.
every game
Yep.
has the players doing some sort of workouts
Mhm.
or exercise on a regular basis. So, like if you want to perform your best, working out is extremely important because healthier body, healthier mind.
Mhm.
And then even though playing StarCraft isn't really the most physically demanding sport, it kind of is a little bit because you got to be able to focus entirely like perfectly.
Mhm.
Um, you got to be able to perform quickly for longer periods of time. If you're a pro player in a long game, you could be playing upwards of like 500 APM
Mm-hmm.
in a 30-minute game.
Yep.
500 actions per minute, 30 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you want to be able, like, you have to do your wrist stretches all the
Mm-hmm.
time. You got to take care of your body. And working out is one of the better ways to just make your body stronger in general and
Mm-hmm.
healthier. So
Nice.
it's kind of also another cheat code that people don't really think about.
Yeah.
You'll just get better if you work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And I guess feeding back into sort of the tips and tricks like mental health stuff, again, just using myself as a test subject. Whenever I'm really like in just the gunk and I'm like, I know I've been in a bad mode for like some days, I usually will look back and be like, oh shit, I haven't exercised at all for like X number of days, right? And the last thing in the universe that I want to do right now is go to the gym. Like it is
Yeah.
not, and anytime I ever catch myself thinking that, I'm like, well, guess what we're doing, buddy? Get in the car.
That's what you got to do. That
Yeah.
is absolutely what you have to do. This I've ran into every time I'm depressed.
Mm.
Like actually in an episode, not just sad for the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
When I mentioned in October that I just didn't have motivation to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
so I stopped going to the gym. I was making constant excuses for myself, like,
Mm.
oh, you know what? It's a little too late now, so
Yep.
maybe I'll just try again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like that type of stuff is the type of thing you got to nip in the bud as
Yeah.
soon as you can. You got to go for it as soon as possible because that's the best way to help yourself out of those bad areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
got to start doing stuff. You shouldn't really you should let yourself have fun sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
if you fall behind in a workout, you shouldn't beat yourself up. You'll just make sure to give it your best next time.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be like have if you have a bad workout, I've had these days all the time.
Mm.
Not all the time, but I've had these days where if I'm not performing as well at the gym, I don't have the energy or whatever. Sometimes I'll feel like, damn, I really wasted this workout day. This really
Mm.
sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll feel bad for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Those days happen to everybody.
Mm.
Those are things that you have to just have happen and then try and do better next time.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're doing it, it's good.
Right.
Even if you're not pushing your personal records in
Mm-hmm.
lifts, even you're still working out and
Mm-hmm.
you're still doing good for yourself. And you got to recognize that. You can't just like look at it and like, oh, bigger number. I'm better.
Yeah.
Nice. Keeping yourself going, even at like the same level for a week, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is fine. If you fall behind, that's a normal thing that actually happens in weightlifting. You deload to give your
Mm.
body time sometimes too. Like
Mm-hmm.
people do
Mm-hmm.
that on purpose. So you
Yeah.
shouldn't feel bad if it just happens to you because you don't have the energy one day. Maybe your nutrition was bad the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have the energy the next day to go absolutely hard in your workout. You got to get yourself to the gym and then you should also do the best not to feel bad if you don't do well at the gym
Mm-hmm.
because that like it's also another thing you got to keep in mind. But getting
Man,
there is
I
the first step.
I hope that you turn into like a 10 billion viewer streamer because like motivational streamer Mackintac, I feel like that's like my fan fiction now that I want to watch come true. Um,
I got a lot of work to do mentally before I get there, but
I don't think so,
I
dude.
get
That's the thing. Now I'm hitting my table. No, I really don't think so because
some.
like I actually I did a podcast recently talking about my own like mindset and struggles and whatever. Um, and I kind of was saying this, and I really like this idea of like the person who is, considers themselves a work in progress is the person that we need at like on the computer screen talking about it. Like we don't need the person who's finished, like I figured it all out. We need the guy who's like, this is the shit I'm struggling with right now. I don't have it all figured out. Here's some stuff that worked a little bit. What are you guys' experiences? Like that's what we need, and I'm hyped that I'm getting it out of you in this interview right now.
Thank you, first of all. But again, it's hard for me to see it from your perspective. I
Mm.
understand what you're saying. Don't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
me
yeah.
wrong.
Uh-huh.
But I just like can't see like I know I'm not where I need to be
Mm.
for me to be the person I want to be.
Mhm.
Like, I'm far from where I want to be at, so I can't really see myself as the person a lot of people wanna see as the paragon of that example.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's hard, yeah, it's very difficult, but I know exactly, like, the concept that you mean, if
Uh-huh.
that makes sense.
I absolutely get I actually love this idea too. Like the idea that you can intellectually get something, but coming to grips with it from an emotional place is like a completely different like it's just hard to feel that thing.
It
Especially as
can
somebody
be.
who is improvement minded and self-critical and stuff too, you're just like I say that and almost makes you double down harder on it where it's like I do this when people say nice stuff to me, right? Like, "Oh, no, but you don't realize like how much I'm struggling with all these things that aren't perfect yet." Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I I mean, we can even relate that to, like, a ladder session.
Mhm.
Like, I'm a grandmaster, I'm pretty fucking good, but
Yep.
the thing is, I say this all the time on stream. One of the things about getting better at StarCraft, you realize just how much more you are doing worse.
Mhm.
Like, you see how much sorry, you just see more so how bad you are.
Mm.
So as you become more aware of things that you could be improving on,
Right.
that's like, you realize, like, "Whoa, I'm actually not good at this game at all. There's
Mhm.
so much I could do better."
Right.
But people don't understand that when you're lower league. As
Mhm.
evidence of me saying, when I was diamond, I thought master players could compete with the top pros.
Mhm.
But then I got better. I realized just how many holes there are in my play. People in my stream chat sometimes are like, "Dude, you're playing so well. Oh my god.
Mhm.
Watching you is like watching a work of art." Someone said that the other day, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I appreciate that." But I that was a horrible game
Uh-huh.
from
Uh-huh.
my perspective.
Right.
So maybe we can look at it that way too. That's a might be another way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like your skill set for evaluating plays going up, alongside, maybe not lockstep with your ability to play the game. When you're lower level, it doesn't you don't notice it because you're improving too quickly. Right? You're going from
Yeah,
bronze to silver to gold. You're just like, I'm stoked, man. I'm wrecking people who I couldn't beat, like I couldn't touch a month ago. Then it starts to slow down and you start to see these flaws that you're talking about. It's like, I know in my head the things that I would need to fix to get to that next 100 MMR or whatever. I just cannot get my body to do it during the game.
it's so hard sometimes. You gotta build up the muscle memory for that, and it takes a while
Mhm.
to, like, get it into your system because you could be just playing a game, like, "Oh, well, dang, I didn't make an overlord at the right time,"
Right.
or "I didn't make my spores at the right time." That's not something you'll do every game after you, like, get told, "Hey, build your spores at this time to
Mhm.
survive against an oracle." You'll forget about that every now and then, but as
Right.
you force yourself to focus on it more and more, you'll start doing it subconsciously. Like,
Yeah.
you'll see the timer in the game, 3:30 spores, boom.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it just takes a while, but then that's why improvement at the higher levels is more difficult because there's a lot more stuff that you have to tighten up and you have to
Yeah.
get used to.
Totally makes sense. Okay. I have taken way more of your time than I said I would. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to sort of sneak in at the end here?
Um, I want to apologize to the people watching, like, who are normal watchers of me, for when I stay in that bad mindset during a
Mm.
stream because I want to give them, like, the best time that they can have there, but it's just very, very difficult. So I'm gonna try and do better on that. So that's I want to just say that first of all because I don't know, I like having a place where people can come hang out,
Mhm.
but I can be really harsh sometimes if I'm in a bad mood. And I think about that a lot after stream. If I say one thing wrong to a person, I will think
Mm.
about that for days.
Yep.
You see, I hear people just saying that sometimes, and before I thought that's just what it was. They were just saying it.
No, that's
But then
real.
after becoming a streamer, I
Yep.
can be hung up on bad stuff that I say to people
Mhm.
for days. Like
Yep.
I go to when I'm laying down, we're trying to get to sleep, and I'm like, dude, I shouldn't have said that to him. I think about that,
Mhm.
and I'm like, whew. So I have half a mind to like message them in like Twitch DM sometimes.
Mhm.
If I miss someone's message in chat,
Yep.
and they were trying to get my attention, I read chat. Read almost every message. I just sometimes reply in my head,
Mhm.
so I don't know if I responded to them, or I just forget because a game is going on. I can't like take the time to think about an answer.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh shoot, I really wish I responded to them.
Right.
Like stuff like that, even I
Yep.
get hung up mentally about. So like, I want to kind of apologize for the people where that happens. I'm trying to do better in that, and like, don't feel bad about asking a question twice in a
Mm.
streamer's chat
Mhm.
because they will miss stuff in game. Just ask
Right.
them again. Like, don't feel like you're pestering them or whatever. A lot of people are like, "Oh, hey, yo, I don't want to ask the same question twice because I don't want to be annoying." Right?
Mhm.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just like don't try like don't be annoying about it. I guess
Yeah.
like don't spam it.
Mhm.
Just like at those moments where a streamer can respond to messages in chat, that's when you ask your question again. If you
Mhm.
asked a question during a game and they didn't answer it.
Yep.
Because I'm happy when people do that because I forget constantly. If I want to
Yeah.
answer a question and I read in game, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting question. But then I'm playing like a really intense macro game against a
Mhm.
Terran player. I forget about that entirely, and then I just queue up into the next game, and then it's
Mhm.
just gone. But then it could have like branched into like totally like perfect educational scenario or just a really interesting conversation,
Mhm.
like that type of stuff. I don't know. I want people to do that more for me for sure.
Yeah,
Maybe I can't speak for all streamers on that, but I
I
know
mean, I'm
from
to the point. I'll appoint somebody. I'll be like, "Who can be raise your hand? Raise your hand if you can be responsible for reminding me to talk about this after the game. I need you to spam, at me in chat." And it really does help, right? Like if you I think giving people permission does help. So I'm glad, you're getting a minute
that's an
to
idea for
yeah.
sure. I like that actually.
It
Maybe I should
helps.
say that more.
Especially, you get a big raid, chat's moving a little quicker than normal. Whoa, look out.
Yeah, I constantly find myself like strolling back up to maybe the beginning of the raid. If I'm
Mhm.
in the middle of a game and I get a raid during a game, I scroll up like to the top and like go through stuff in my head.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I do that a lot because I feel like I'm missing a lot if I'm rated during a game and there's a lot of people in chat.
Mhm.
I want to like give them the time to focus on that after a game, but then sometimes I won't do that, unfortunately, because I'm
Mhm.
too distracted. I queue up into another game right away.
Right. Yeah, muscle memory, right? You
Yeah.
just jamming games. Awesome, dude. Any other stuff? I mean, obviously we can promote you. We can get some social links going here. You can start working on that.
um, I want to thank everyone who's like continued to support me. Cats especially is one of the first ones that come to mind. Like he kind of made all this possible.
Mhm.
Stefano for kind of like kickstarting everything for me.
Mhm.
Um, I don't thank him enough, but like the hosts, this is weird to say. This is like clout chasey to say, but like that kind of put me into the spot where I am today, which is further than I expected to be when I started streaming.
Mm.
And through that, I've been able to like garner maybe a wrong word, maybe, but like create a community of people that like to hang out with me and
Mhm.
stream and conversate with me, which I love. So I got to thank him as well. A lot of my friends, Panda Bearme, I've talked a lot with Caleb Baracus for just being there to talk about stream stuff every now and then. Um, IRL friends Costa and Calvin, both like massive help in general. I could keep naming people actually. Like Up a Tree and Juggernaut Jason are the last two I'm going to mention
Mhm.
because Up a Tree. This is his microphone, the one I'm using right now.
Really?
Yeah,
That's why we
I
have the
think it's
same
the same one you
microphone.
have.
Yeah, because he told me
Yeah,
to get it.
yeah. So this is his. He's like, you know what, dude? I don't want you to keep using the snowball. I want you to upgrade your mic. I'm just gonna let you borrow mine until you get an upgrade.
Uh-huh.
And then he did that. Yeah, he's given me so much advice in general. Like
Mm.
he is he's my stream idol for production quality for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
That guy, like he's a legend. Juggernaut Jason for just I was a huge Jason fan. And just a chill dude. I just want to thank him for being him. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
man.
he got me more into watching Starcraft streams as well.
Very
So
cool. Dude,
Yeah,
this has
I don't know.
been
Yeah.
a fascinating conversation. I feel like my favorite interviews are the ones where I get surprised and like throw out half the questions and go, you know what, this is not nearly as important as what this person is saying right now. And I think I did that within like the first 5 minutes of talking to you. I just went, okay, whatever my notes are trash. Like you're gonna tell your I basically could be a log with a face carved on it, and this interview is gonna run itself. So
I
thank
mean,
you
you did really
for
well. Like, I really enjoy it. Like, you let me talk a lot, and I like talking. But the thing is, you like looking at it from someone who has seen a lot of interviews with stuff.
Mm,
I think you did really well because you added in your own experiences, which made me open up more on some stuff,
uh-huh.
which was nice.
Oh,
You did
don't tell him
really
my
well there.
secret. Shit.
I,
We
I,
can't
I
let that one out.
sorry,
End the
sorry. I
interview.
gotta cut it.
Cut.
Cut the camera. Cut the camera. Cut the mics. But I don't know. You're really personable, which makes me more open to talking,
Awesome, man.
and I think you're doing that really well. So thank you.
Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you, yeah, opening up and talking about the hard stuff. Cause like I say, I mean, that was what got me on my soapbox earlier, right? Like that I think is a really important thing. And we need more people who are brave enough to do it. Okay, I got one more because you inspired
Okay.
me, okay?
All right.
With talking about, I'm gonna drive the content to be, the way that I think that it should be and all that stuff. Okay, so normally I do the interview and then I ladder. Right? It's my normal shtick. You rated 40 viewers over to me. It's like, if I care about my development as a streamer, I should continue to put on a show. I also just had my second COVID vaccine and I'm freaking tired and I
Dude,
can't play good StarCraft. So I'm going to raid up a tree and I'm going to try to come back stronger once the vaccine brain fog is gone. And I'm going to
I mean,
not beat
that's
myself
good.
up.
Yeah.
Like, you did that because you talked about that because otherwise I would have lost 8 games and gone to bed angry.
You would have felt bad going to bed. Like, because it's also, you'll probably, I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, if I lose, if I used to be like, I'm trying to get away from this, but if you lose a lot on stream, I feel like
Mm.
I'm not showing the best uh, game content that I
Mm-hmm.
could.
Yeah, you're not
So
showing the
that's
fans
another
good
thing as
games.
well. Yeah, I want to avoid that if I can.
Yep.
But yeah, if it, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
for
stuff.
sure, man. Anytime you want to talk about this, it doesn't have to be on stream. Please hit me up. I love, kind of talking about this sort of
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
And yeah, I learned a lot. So yeah, let's go over to Up a Tree's place. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really, really appreciate it, dude. It was a fantastic conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time.